Hi, I'm Scott Flowers with Cloud Ninjas, and today we're here to talk about Dell PowerEdge T410 server memory upgrade kits and how to properly load, install, and configure the system. Well, hey, thanks for stopping by today to learn a little bit more about the Dell PowerEdge T410. If you find anything useful in this video, do us a favor, hit the like and smash that subscribe. Well, let's get started. First things first, this is a tower, but it technically can be used as a rack. People will put this, will get rails and rack this and use this as a server for their office. People also will use this as a gaming server or use this as a home desktop. Really, it's powerful for really any of those options and is very capable of managing that. So let's get into some of the components inside. There's two CPU sockets. It uses Intel Xeon 5500 or 5600 series CPUs. We recommend using the 5600, and really you can get some cheap hex cores like the 5660, 5670, where you can get a pair of them for 50, 60, 70 bucks, and really get this up to 12 cores. So that's what we recommend for CPUs. As far as RAM is concerned, there are 8 DIMM slots inside. It uses DDR3 memory. There's a number of different sizes that you can use. You can go as low as a 1 gig, 2 gig, 4 gig, 8 gig, 16 gig, or all the way up to 32 gigs. Yes, it does accept 32 gigs. I do understand the Dell spec sheet will tell you that it only takes up to 16 gigs. However, Dell never actually put in 32 gigs. If you actually try it out, 32 gigs will work. So if you're at home and that's one of the reasons you're watching is you just wanted to see, hey, can I actually put in 32 gigs? Yes, you can. We've done it. Don't worry, you're good to go. As far as speeds are concerned, you can go as low as 1066, 1333, 1600, or all the way up to 1866. I will note, though, if you use 1600 or 1866, it's just going to clock back down to 1333. So really, that's what we recommend so that you just don't spend the extra money on 1600 or 1866. As far as the types of RAM you can use, there's 2 types of memory that you can use. You can use ECC Registered, also known as RDIMM, or you can use ECC Unbuffered, which is more of a server UDIMM. With ECC Registered, that's really what we recommend because you can just get a higher scalability and just a better max configuration. So with ECC Registered, you can max out using 8 32 gigs at 256 gigabytes total, and you can do 1600 megahertz on that. With ECC Unbuffered, on the other hand, you can only put in 4 gigs and you can get in 32 gigabytes total. So really there's no sense in using ECC Unbuffered. We get that question all the time, and really we don't even sell ECC Unbuffered for this machine. We always just tell people registered is the way to go. Okay. And another thing that I want to stress before we hop into the machine is a lot of times people ask us, can we use LRDIMMs, also load reduced modules, also known as LRDIMMs? No, unfortunately you can't. This is part of the 11th generation from Dell. That one in the T410, the one is calling out the 11th gen. So like, for instance, the T610, 11th gen. The T420 or the T620, those are the 12th gen, and the 2 there is calling out the 12th gen. Once you get to the 12th gen for Dell, then you can start to use load reduced modules, but you cannot use them for the 11th gen, unfortunately. So I just wanted to stress that point in case that was something that you were looking to do and wanted to see if it was compatible, because sometimes load reduced modules are cheaper than ECC Registered, and we see that a lot. People want to put them in, and you just unfortunately can't. So anyhow, let's go ahead and hop in the machine. I want to show you how to load the modules, how to install them, the different channels, because the channels on this one are definitely a little bit unique. But before we do, I'm going to grab my ESD gear, because you never really want to be inside a server without your ESD gear. You could potentially shock it. So I'm going to grab it and be right back. All right, now that we have our ESD gear on, we're safe to open the machine. First things first, just make sure the latch is set to unlock. If it is locked, just grab a Phillips head and flip it to the unlock. Pop the tab, lift it straight up, pretty much like any other machine you've been in. Very simple. All right, once you get to this point, you will notice this, that you do not just have immediate access to the CPUs and RAMs. You're going to have to do a couple of steps, very easy stuff. But first things first, you're going to grab this. You're just going to lift it up. I will note that it'll come back down if you don't clip it, so just make sure you clip it into place, okay? Now that you have it clipped into place, it is out of the way. You want to now lift the air baffle straight up. So I like to grab right here and right here, okay? So this is what I'll do, is just lift it straight up and put it to the side, okay? Now that we are in, you will notice, as we discussed, there are 2 CPUs. CPU 1 controls all 4 of the DIMM slots over here. CPU 2 controls the 4 DIMM slots over here. This definitely is a little bit of a unique system in the sense that the memory channels are different. You can even see it from the color coding from Dell. It goes white, 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 black. So this is actually A1 right here, A2, A3, and then A4 back on the back end, okay? And so that means there are 3 memory channels per CPU, which is kind of strange when you have 4 slots. I've never seen that. Normally it'd be 2 memory channels, and it would be just, you know, white, black, but in this particular case, it is 3 memory channels per CPU, which again, like I said, is a little bit strange. So, but the good thing about that is that means that you don't run into the rank rule, which a lot of the 11th gen from Dell has that issue, like the 710, for instance, has that issue. So you don't have to worry about quad rank modules. You can put them in and not have to worry about, you know, if you wanted to put in 16 gig 1066, the 4x4 modules, because they're cheaper than like the 1333. Yes, you can use it and not have to worry about anything because those are quad rank, but it'll work just fine with the T410. So that is nice. So on that note, as we discussed, this is A1, A2, A3, A4. When you come back over here, it's a very similar thing, and it's all labeled on here as well from Dell, so that's nice. So you go B1, B2, B3, and then back over to B4. So if you were only putting in 2 slots or 2 DIMMs per CPU, you would use A1 and A2. If you were putting in 3, it'd be A1, A2, A3. Really, we just recommend putting in 4 per CPU and just putting an 8 in this because at this point with this machine, really you want to get the best out of it and make it kind of a band-aid to get a few more years life out of it. Really, you should definitely be running at least 8 16 gigs, but I personally recommend 8 32 gigs. So on that note, we're going to go ahead and start installing them. Before we do, I want to point out to you there is a notch right here in the middle, also known as a key. This key is very important because it is how you properly line the module up, and it also prevents users from putting in the wrong modules. You couldn't grab a DDR4 and put it in, for instance. But again, it's important because you have to line the module up properly. So if you look at the DIMM slots themselves, hopefully you can see it in the camera. It might not. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult, but there's a little plastic piece that sticks up. So if you flip it the wrong way and you try to stick it in, you could actually damage the leads on the module, or you could damage the DIMM slot, which means you might have to replace the motherboard, neither of which anyone wants over just installing something the incorrect way. So we're going to go ahead and start installing these. I'm going to start at the beginning of the channel. And actually, one thing I want to note is to make sure you got all your tabs open. Personally, I like to have all the tabs open so I'm not fumbling around while I'm trying to install the DIMM. So I'm going to put in A1 to start, and I want to note when I put the module down, you'll see the module, it's in the slot, kind of. It looks like it's in, but really it's not fully seated. And this is a very common error. We hear it all the time. A customer thinks that they have a failed DIMM, and really the DIMM is just not properly seated. So we'll tell them to, hey, rotate it around, put in some other slots, and then all of a sudden the module magically works. And no, it works because it just wasn't properly seated. So one of the things that you need to make sure you do is you're going to hear this click sound right here. You want to hear it on both sides. Now the module is fully seated. So I'm going to do it again just to show you, because this is really important, and honestly it happens to people all the time, and I don't care. Click, click. I don't care if you've been a technician for 20 years or if you've been a technician's first day on the job. Anyone can make this mistake. I actually did this yesterday when I was doing a video on the M620s, and I basically flipped it the wrong way on one of them and didn't fully seat one of the things. It was just like, what's going on here? So it can easily happen. So anyhow, so we knocked out the first 4. I mean, literally it took 30 seconds a minute. It's very easy to do. I do want to note when you come over to CPU 2, the notch does flip. So again, when you're lining up your modules, just make sure you're lining it up properly. So I'm starting in B1 right now, just because, again, starting at the beginning of the channel. Technically, if you're maxing it out, it really doesn't matter which one you install it in first, but I want to do it the proper way in case someone at home is only putting in, a couple of DIMMs that they know how the channels work. So, like for instance, if you had 2 CPUs and you were only putting in 2 DIMMs, you would want to put them in B1 and A1. So that's another note for people that are out there. So, and really, this, like I said, it's very simple. If you're at home and you're thinking, hey, I want to do this, but I'm not really a technician, I don't know if I can, it's easy to do. You might make some little mistakes along the way, but nothing that's that hard to correct. So, and if you need some help, you can always reach out to us as well. We're always here to help people out. So on that note, look at that, we're done. It took a minute, 2 minutes. And really it was that easy. The boost in performance that this machine is going to get now, because we just installed 256 gigabytes. What it had when it came in, believe it or not, it only had 16 gigs. So it had 4 gigs inside. That's not really going to get a whole lot for you as far as if you're at home gaming, or even if you're using this as your desktop. The boost that we're going to get with this right now is going to be really awesome. So that's one of the things we always recommend to people, is to upgrade your RAM if you would just want to increase the general performance of your system. So now we're going to go ahead and put the air baffle back in. I'm just going to line this up and pop it back in. Okay, and you'll notice there's technically these little black cones down there that they slide into on this side, and then you're just going to push this back down, and boom, you're done. It was really just that simple. So if you're at home and you're thinking, hey, I want to know if I can do this, yeah, you can do it. It's easy. And then you're just going to put the top back on. So if you're looking for some upgrades, do us a favor, give us a call or email us at sales@cloudninjas.com. We'd love to quote you. We got a ton of 16 and 32 gig modules for this system in particular. And if you made it this far, do us a favor, click that like and smash that subscribe. Thanks for stopping by, and have a great day.